Find yourself a booth, order up a cold one. This is the Spring Bar.
Hey everybody, welcome to Spring Bar. Glad to have you here. I am Florida Mike. I'm Chicago Mike. I'm Illinois Mike.
Well, I don't know. Where are you?
I'm Mike. You're Joe. They're here. Welcome.
Okay. But where are you?
How's that? I'm in the south suburbs of Chicago.
You're Chicago adjacent.
Yes.
How many miles from Chicago are you? Is it dark and are you wearing sunglasses?
No.
Okay, so this is not a Blues Brothers reference. Okay, fine. Continue. Carry on.
No. I'm no. Okay.
That was funny. That was funny. That was a beautiful moment and you blew it. You ruined the whole thing. I'm just saying.
Sorry. 90 miles of Chicago, half a pack of cigarettes, and how does it go?
I don't know. I'm not from
half
Chicago.
A tank of gas, a pack of cigarettes, something like that.
Full tank of gas, half a pack of cigarettes. It's dark and we're wearing sunglasses.
Okay, there it is. All right. So, what's going on? What's new?
Nothing. You're the one who's not at home. Like my backdrop's the same. You're in an actual bar.
I know. Isn't this actually really cool behind me?
That's really cool. That's really cool.
This is a whole lot better than mine at home.
My wife is jealous.
I'm recording at my brother's house.
You will see a redesign, I'm sure, of my backdrop in the next week.
So here we have basements in Chicago. We can't have that in Florida for obvious reasons. He built half his basement out as a speakeasy. It's like a little pool hall, it's a bar, dartboard, it's all themed, and it's actually really cool here.
All right.
So we figured this was a better backdrop than family photos of when I was a baby. And
I don't know. I think ugly baby Mike would be fetching.
Well, so we, my daughter and I went through the old family photo album, and she saw like my middle school ages, middle school days, and the braces and the headgear and the weird haircuts, and she saw all that.
Oh yeah, it's a look.
Yeah,
it's a look.
So. So this is also, not only am I not at home, this is also very weird for me because I'm filming before a live studio audience. I have people before me. I wish I had a little applause sign that I can hang up.
Yeah. Well, you'd have to say something
like an actual applause. Oh, see, there they are. Do you hear them?
No.
No? Oh, noise cancellation.
Right.
No, my family is down here. They're watching me. So this is my mother's favorite part. What are you wearing? What are you drinking?
All right. So today I have on the Accutron VX200. This is the weird diver. It's like a 41 blue bezel, blue dial, weird ass bracelet. That's incredibly comfortable.
Yeah.
And man, it's heavy and thick and all of the things that you would expect from a tool diver. And today I am drinking a truly citrus squeeze.
Citrus squeeze.
I
heard it. Whether or not it comes across in the edit.
I don't know. I can't help you with that. But that's what I'm drinking today.
Okay.
And right. You, sir? Do you have Malort? Tell me you got Malort. I need you to drink some Malort. I need Malort.
No, I'm not drinking Malort.
Damn it, Mike.
No, I've got the Luyard Elaine Zieberstein.
Showing off.
I brought it because I don't trust it being home when I'm not there.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting, because there is a watch waiting for you.
Well, I hope. So
says it was delivered.
Yeah, did you see what it said though? It said delivered to person at residence. Like there's nobody home. And if there is, there's a problem.
Well,
so we'll find out. I fly home tomorrow. We'll see. I've got 3 things waiting for me. That should be at least.
Ooh, I'm trying to think of what those are. I don't think I know.
Yeah. So next episode I'll have some new stuff
Okay. And you got nothing with
that
you.
we can talk about.
There was anything, you really didn't have anything new at all.
No, I don't have anything new at all.
Okay.
Not right now.
Just
No,
me. Okay.
but I'm drinking. So my brother made this. This is a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. This is a peanut butter. What is it? What am I drinking?
Screwball.
With Chambord.
Old Smoky peanut butter whiskey with
Okay.
Chambord.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be solid.
Vanilla Corona.
Yeah. So this is and these go down a little too smooth.
All right. So yeah, make him up another one.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
Let's
Oh,
keep
that's
those. Let's
delicious.
keep those going.
Yeah.
You've got nothing new. So it's just me.
It's just you. What are we going to talk about first? Are we
I don't know.
talking about what goes on your wrist, or
Put
what
something up on
doesn't?
the screen, and I'll talk about it.
Okay, that's fair. We'll start there. Let
I know
me
what they are, so it's
zoom
not
that in.
like a surprise.
Yeah, you do. That is fair. Okay. Coming up, new thing number one. I think this is really cool, and I know what you're going to do with this. And I
It
think
is
you're a
really,
little
it is
crazy.
really cool. So that is an 8-day dash clock. It would go in the dashboard of an airplane. It's a manual wind, and then so that weird little spot that's down kind of at 7.5. That's where the setting mechanism was. And this one is in
Okay.
desperate need of that. And then the screws that are at 10.5 and what is that, 4.5 are for where it would mount
Just call
into
it
the.
10 and 4.
All right, that's where it would mount into the dash of the plane.
Yeah.
So these were made by a variety of different manufacturers. Bulova, Elgin, Waltham all made them, but then so did a bunch of Swiss manufacturers. And the one that I have, I got for very, very little. The person selling it didn't know if it worked because it didn't have the setting mechanism and assumed that it was a Bulova. So of course, me being me and not knowing what the heck I was getting, I bought it. And it arrived. Now, the issue that I've got is that there are a couple different sizes of these types of timers, and some of them are actual clock timers, and they are watch sized. And then there are these dash timers, which are larger. And so the clock timers they went into the gun sights and the cameras for the guns, so that they could work on what you actually shot, and they had a timestamp for it. These ones were for the pilot to use, and I didn't know how big it was. So it came sight unseen, and it arrived, and then I cracked the case back open, and there's lots of screws in order to pull that off. This has a JLC movement. So
And that is the coolest thing.
it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool, but it's going to take a lot to get to work. And that's not exactly worth it to me. However, it is worth it to our man in Japan, or man formerly in Japan. So he's
Yeah,
got a
but
few of
that's
these. He's
just-
got a few. It's going to go to him. It's going to a good home. It's no skin off of my nose.
But you, just as a display piece, a JLC movement in a dash clock on display,
Eh.
I would keep it.
I'm sure
Did you already
well-
sell it to him?
Oh yeah, it's done. I got to ship it off on Monday.
Oh gosh, you're crazy. I'd have bought that from you.
I'm not. It's not that crazy, because the problem is parts and trying to find the right parts, because it's not a standard size movement. Like it's big.
Here's
Here's the wristwatch. Here's the timer. So it's gonna be a whole different set of parts. It's not like you're gonna be able. You have to find stuff that's specific to it. And if you don't have that, so it's better off it goes to Dave, and he can do with this what he will, because he's got one that he needs some parts for. This one could work, and it's worth it. So that's what's going on.
Okay.
This is
all right.
I'm moving it on, and because I would much rather
okay,
have.
so hold on.
I'd much rather have the gun timer.
Did you sell it? Did you lose money on it in typical Joe fashion?
No, I didn't lose
Whoa.
money on it. I lost money in shipping.
Okay, so you didn't lose as much.
The amount of money that I paid for it plus shipping is not what I sold it for. For the
Because
watch,
that came from the UK, so most of the value came from shipping.
Yeah, it was just as much to ship as it was to purchase. So I charge Dave what it's going to cost to ship it to him, which is significantly less.
Okay.
But Having goodwill
Okay.
with somebody who fixes your watches is always a plus. So
Well, that's you're doing that for us.
I'm taking one for the team.
Doing that for because I also have to send him some stuff, and I've been telling him about it, and he wants to send me things to sell for him, and we both need to make that happen.
You need to
Moving on.
Moving on. Next one.
Yeah. New thing number. Oh,
New
wait,
thing
hold on.
number
Not in that.
2 is
Yes. There
that's
you
the
go.
one. It's a Accutron 666 that has lived a life, man. The bezel has faded to a blue, and we're assuming that the bezel is original. It's kind of hard to tell because I don't know enough about these. Like you can feel a lip at the edge of the bezel. The hands have
Mm-hmm.
got some wear to them. The dial is decent. But the crystal is just kind of trashed, and it's
That looks like
magnificent.
it's glass too, right?
Yeah, it looks like I believe it should be a mineral crystal. It's not plastic in the
Yeah.
slightest, and it is just a glorious, glorious tool bastard that doesn't work well. It runs slow. Like when it gets to the bottom half of the hour, something sticks or it stops on you. So according to this, we're recording on Saturday at about 3:15, and this says it's Friday at 10 minutes to 1. So
Okay.
it's running a lot slow. So
You couldn't spring for a nice one?
there aren't nice ones that are available. And the movement, it's a quartz movement, but every report that I've seen says that you can probably get it serviced. So I'm going to take it to my guy, have him take a
So
look.
you can. I think Dave did one not that long ago.
One of these?
Relatively speaking.
Oh, really?
Well, a quartz movement. He had it all apart. I don't. You know how he records them sometimes and puts them
Yeah.
on his channel. I think he's got it up there. I think I saw something up there on his channel.
Well, I'll take a look. This is going to go to my local guy, and we'll see what happens.
Oh, okay. Well,
Records.
good luck there.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, seeing as I'm on vacation and I really didn't think about what we were going to talk about, you came up with an idea. It's kind of a topic that we've discussed before.
It's a
So this is
rehash, except, and it took me a minute because I remembered that there's something that you had said, and I wanted to talk about it. I wanted to get through with it, and I couldn't remember what it was, and so I scrolled back through one of our chats. And I'm like, oh, because you bought, which because you didn't have that.
That I did that. That is new. That's right. We didn't have that when Carl was on.
That's right.
Yeah, I bought the 150th anniversary Marine Star.
Right.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
So it's the copy of the Corelli cased Valju movement.
Yeah.
Bicompacts, tricompacts, white dial, no date, da 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 da. Bulva has done the reissue of it, and it's a black dial, triple register with a date at 4, but the date is radial. It's not vertical off of the 12 o'clock axis.
Yeah,
and
the whole date conversation, which people actually appreciated the date conversation.
I'm sure that they did, but it still goes down. It goes back to the discussion that you and I had, and we had this with Oliver. And the discussion is whether or not that is a faithful reissue or is it something else. And our decision as a collective, because like I did the side by side with the original, and the original has different proportions. They're slight and they're subtle, but I think they're significant, right? The subdials are a little bit larger. The shape of the bezel insert is a little bit different. The numeral placement is a little bit different.
Speaking of slight and subtle, I did a review video on that. I received it. I worked about a good day and a half on putting a review video together fairly quickly so I could get it out and be one of the first ones. At the end of it, don't know if you caught it, but I did kind of work in there how they could do that by compacts version using the movement that was in the surfboard. So maybe they caught on to that. I don't know.
We'll see.
I don't. I also want to point out my mother got her phone out. She is recording the screen, even though in a week she'll be able to watch exactly what she's seeing on YouTube.
I'll make sure I send her the link too.
Yeah.
So the question was,
It's a reissue episode on reissues, is what it is.
It is, but the question about that specifically, about that watch specifically, is if it was a good reissue or not. And our consensus is that it is not a good reissue. It's a great watch, and if it stands by itself as something else, that makes it a
And
fantastic.
and that's the problem with it. And that's what I said at the beginning of that review video. You can't call it a reissue. It has to be a very well done heritage inspired design, because
Right.
as that it ticks all the boxes, it nails it, it's fantastic. But as soon as you start comparing it
Right.
to what the originals were, it falls short in so many ways. And that was I'm recalling this conversation now, and that was the hang up that I had with it. And
Uh-huh.
the number one thing was that 430 date window.
Right.
It really shouldn't be there in that iteration. But they're also using the 262 chronograph movement, which is the same as the lunar pilot. So if you know what the lunar pilot is, you know how those subdials are kind of spread out a little bit. They're not as close. There's a lot of space left in that dial. That's
Yeah.
that. But as a heritage inspired, it's fantastic. It does everything that it's supposed to do.
Okay. And so that brings us to sort of our discussion. And it's the question is, what makes a good reissue versus something that's heritage inspired? And like the watches that we have to discuss, what do we got? The Hoyer reissues that we've got. There's the Top Time, and then the UG, all the UG stuff that's going to be coming out in the near future.
Oh, speaking of UG, they did that. The one of the pull routers that they just auctioned off.
Yeah.
Do you see what that went for?
What was it? 80?
It's like, yeah, it's close
Yeah.
to, it was like $75,000 as to
Something like that. Yeah. Or sorry, 75,000
They-
Swiss francs or something like. Yeah. It was
they are going to price themselves out of the market.
I don't disagree with you. I mean, because what is that comparable to? It
$75,000.
Well, no. I'm talking just the watch itself. Just the watch itself. That it's like it's a date jest. Realistically, it puts it into that same category. And so you've got maybe a Calatrava, right? And I'm not disagreeing with the aesthetic of the watch. Constellation.
It's the problem is it's a beautiful watch. It's fantastic that they're reviving the brand, but it becomes a question of, is it worth that much money as a revival brand? And it's not the original UG that it was.
Well, and like we talked about what it was if you were to try to put it into comparable dollars. And it wasn't going to be anywhere near that much because they were looking at pricing those at 17, I think, is what the
I think that the basic three-hand steel cases are starting at 17,000.
Which is, come on, you can get a Rolex for that.
Yeah, but you want the original anyways. If you're going to pay that much money, you can get an actual
for less. You can get an original for less. For less.
Far less.
Right. And like we don't have enough.
You can get a solid gold pull router for less than that.
Yeah, exactly. So let's get into it. Right, we talked about the UG. Let's talk about the Breitling, because I've got an image and you've got an image, right?
Yeah. So what's funny is it's the same watch, but it's two different watches.
Right, and this to me is a really interesting thing because the one we're talking about, the Top Time. And they did this Top Time reissue, for Watches and Wonders, right? Or even before that. And it's nice, but it's not a Top Time, because a Top Time is a chronograph. And we've argued about this, you and I know that your opinion of it is that that's a fantastic watch, and I don't disagree, but I wouldn't have called it a Top Time because it doesn't fit into that aesthetic. Bring up your picture of the new one.
They're trying to expand though.
Because Breitling needs to do that. Because that's the important thing. Yeah, bring up the other one.
Okay.
Because this just dropped this week? Last week? It's relatively brand new.
Something. So
That
this is the top time. This is, what do they call it? It has an actual designation. Let me
BO1,
look
something
here.
like that.
Yeah, the BO1 racing chronograph, I think, which is very reminiscent to the Breitling surfboards.
Yeah, it
The
is.
originals, like the
I mean,
flight
with
ones, the
aside from
APOA
that sort of
ones.
square, that sort of thing, like they've taken a lot of different elements in that. I think that's a fantastic watch. I think that's an excellent reissue. I think that the size is good. I like just about everything about that. And comparing that to
Now,
the first iteration of the top times, like, come on, there's no comparison between those two watches.
yeah, no, this does hit that point. Now, the other one is not bad. They're trying to open up. How do I put it in a way that you'll understand, that
Yeah,
I know
try
you're gonna
hard.
hate? It'd
Try
be like
real
if they
hard.
took the Lunar Pilot and they made it a three-hander and made like a Lunar Pilot pull router. Would you like that? Would that appeal to you?
It's not a lunar pilot.
But it would be the Lunar Pilot pull router. It's a
Not a lunar
subsection of
pilot.
the. Okay,
Is it a lunar pilot? No, it's not a lunar pilot.
but it
It's
would
not a
be.
lunar pilot.
I don't know.
It's not a lunar pilot.
Okay. What else do you got?
It's
What's the
not a
other one
lunar
you wanted to
pilot.
talk about?
Oh, what else? Are
Hey,
we could talk about the F1. You want to talk about the F1? Let's talk about the F1. I know
let's
why I don't like it.
let's talk about the F1. Yeah, because as always, we have differing opinions on this watch,
We do, but I I
which,
I I got it. I know why. I know why.
okay,
So this is
here
the
it is. It's coming up on
like,
screen.
solar lunar or the
No,
solar
no, it's not a
power
solar lunar.
whatever it's got a soul whatever it's called. It's something. Solar.
Solograph.
Oh yeah, okay. So it's it's got the citizen movement in it. It's got an eco drive movement in it. Let's be honest. All right.
Listen. You can't tell people that because they're going to start calling us orological idiots again, Joe. We can't have that.
We already are horological idiots, but it doesn't change the fact that that's an eco drive movement or a close equivalent of. Right? Okay, we have maybe Tag developed their own, but you could have gotten it from Citizen for a heck of a lot less, and it wouldn't cost $1,500 for that quartz
So,
watch.
does everybody who's ever made a chair have to owe their heritage to the first guy who's made a chair? No,
Yes.
come on.
Yes.
Okay, so why
Here's my
why
issue.
don't you like this watch?
Here's my issue.
Yes.
Compared to the original F1, it's the dial bezel ratio. This one shows up a lot better because of the way that some of the inner tracks work. But for most of them, the bezel is thinner compared to what the original F1s were. And it's that chunkiness that shows up. And even when you look at what was Carabelle calling it? The clipper? That's their
As we just found out, yeah.
yeah. That's their copy of it, which like you and I both have one of. And I like that watch. I like the watch in that size. I like everything about it, and it does a better copy of the bezel to dial ratio. And that's what throws me for this particular watch, is the reason that I don't care for it as much. Because design wise, it's incredibly close. The loom plots work, the handset works, the fonts, everything about the layout is really, really close to the original. It's just that ratio. And it's almost like the idea that they didn't expand it right. And that's the problem that I have with it.
On the topic of expansion, the problem, I love this watch. I would absolutely buy this watch and wear it. The problem that I have is the handset. They expanded the watch, but they forgot about the handset. They really did. It's far too small for what it should be, especially that hour hand.
Right. Okay. And I think that could certainly be a part of it, and definitely in changing the appeal of the
Do
watch.
you
And
think though, if the hands were proportioned
a little bit
correctly, that
larger.
would change the way?
Well, I mean, like, when you look at this image in particular, the hour marker isn't that far off. I mean, what you want the tip of the Mercedes in the middle of the loom plot, or do you want it just
No,
touching?
it's not supposed to be in the middle, but that's supposed to be a larger diameter
Yeah,
section
yeah.
there.
You make it a large, yeah, make it almost the same size or a little bit bigger, and I think you're in better shape. I don't disagree with that.
But what I'm saying is, would a correct sized hands change the way that you view the ratios of what you're talking about?
It might. It might. I don't know that that's horribly far off. It might. It's hard to say. And like we've talked about proportions before that if you're doing just a straight expansion, increase by 102% or whatever, sometimes that works, sometimes that doesn't work. But when you don't do that and you just kind of, almost try to Photoshop it through rather than really look at what made the proportions work in the first place, particularly if we're talking about iconic designs. And I think that you can give a lot of credit to Rolex for this because they've got 36, 39, 40, 41, 42 iterations of some of their
Okay.
watches.
So that leads me into my next point here.
Yeah.
Is this because the originals you had a woman's size, you had a men's size. The men's I think was what 35 was the largest you can get in the original F1.
Yeah.
These are 38.
Yeah.
Now, are we labeling this? Are we putting this in the reissue category, or is this going to be a continuation?
Well, that's a really good question. I don't know. I think that they put it in
Because
as
if
a
you're going to
reissue.
compare it to Rolex and what Rolex does with the games that they play with the sizes, they're not. And we had this talk. They're
Yeah.
not all new. They're just
No,
a
no, and
different
it's not
variant
a
of what was
reissue.
already there.
It's not a reissue in the slightest in just about anything. It's an evolution, and they expand and contract based upon what they think they want the market to be, And so it's a really interesting way that part of that game is the size game is played. And you see that as trends change and alter that okay, things were going to be huge and now they're not, and what are we going to do next, and right? And so like if we're talking about Rolex because the presidents change size, the dates just change size, but what about the Reverso? Right? Watches and Wonders, they just had that fantastic issue of that gold Reverso that has that beautiful bracelet, but it's not the original size. I believe it's the medium, which makes it wear a little bit large compared to, all of the vintage Art Deco watches from the 30s, which is when that watch was really designed and kind of the size that it should be. It should be a small watch. It's like, 25, I think? Maybe a little bit larger, but not by much. They're tiny.
Yeah.
So, is that a reissue? Is that a continuation? Is that an evolution?
Well, that's a good term. Evolution. I like that one. That's how they should have marketed it. The Formula One Evolution. That would have been a good way. And I would have agreed with that 100%. I would have no problem calling it that.
I would go with that. I would like, and if we throw this back to Bulova, which is kind of what we always end up doing, the Oceanographer, the 666 reissue, which came out at 44, but is now moved down to 41.
With what they did when the originals were out. How many different cases have we come across? The crown's heights are different, the sizes are different, the profiles are different on that.
Right.
But a good side-by-side comparison would be the mill ships. You have the original, then you have what they're, people have called the reissue, but it's not. It's a continuation of, because it was never actually produced.
Right. It's the issue.
Same thing with,
right. But I think that watch though is taller than the original or the prototypes, if you will. Just because it's got the automatic movement in it. But then if you take a look at, say, like the Stars and Stripes, which compared to the original, the reissue, the Archive series one that's got the 262 movement, you really can't tell. That one's like looking at that.
Yeah.
If somebody threw a patina mod on one of the 262s,
I thought about doing that.
It wouldn't be bad. You'd be hard
Yeah.
pressed, man, because those ones are really, really close to being almost perfect in terms of just,
Yeah.
and then if we talk about the Super Seville, which you and I both love, and that is probably the best one to date that Bulova has done. Just from, and you and I both agree on that one, just 100%.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll go with that. It's hard because they've done so well. They really have.
Well, they have, but and then like if we talk about the surfboard, which is the movement you and I both really like, but comparing that to the original, it's not, and it's as a reissue, it's like, okay, something I can go swimming in, yeah, quartz, okay. And that sort of brings us to the next question. It's like, all right, quartz versus mechanical. If the original watch is mechanical, should the reissue be mechanical? The original watch is quartz, should the reissue be quartz? And like that plays directly into the tag F1 because the original was a relatively cheap quartz module, and now it's
Yeah.
this eco drive movement. I'm pushing
Which
that.
is
That's my narrative. I'm sticking with it.
but it's still a quartz movement. It doesn't matter how it gets its power. The fact of the matter is it's a quartz movement. Now, that one's a little weird because over the years they have evolved into mechanical versions. But if you're staying true to what the heritage is with that watch, and that really was the watch that saved Tag Heuer,
Right.
it was a quartz movement. And while this one is solar powered, it still ticks in the way that it should. And I'm glad they did it that way. And I would have been more upset had it been mechanical because that's just not the way that it should be for this watch.
Okay, but now make the comparison with say the Super Seville, which should be mechanical and is not, or the Jetstar for that matter. And the Jetstar might be a better
Well,
discussion because the Jetstar is not, it's not a one-to-one. It's a reimagining.
no, and that one was never marketed as a reissue. That was
Yeah,
just a modern interpretation of that particular watch.
right.
But both of those, even though the originals were mechanical, they went with, will you say, an upgraded option? You're still getting the smooth second hands. You're getting, accuracy far better than what the originals were, and you're getting it in a extremely good size package.
I do not disregard anything that you just said. I do not think that any of those statements are wrong. And I think that on the face of it, as a value for money, those watches punch way above their weight. I have no issue with the packaging. I have no issue with the finishing. I have no issue with the performance. I think everything about those watches, and I've got both, you've got both, and we're both avowed fans of both of those watches. My issue with those is looking at it from a collector standpoint. From an enthusiast standpoint, they're fantastic. They hit every single mark. From a fashion standpoint, they're fantastic. They work well, they wear well, they look great. What's it going to be like in 25 years? What happens when I need to service that watch when Bulova has stopped producing that movement?
It's the same thing that's going to happen with the Accutron 666. It's a quartz movement from the 70s. You're going to send it off and it's going to get serviced. The same thing will happen. You can do that
Yeah,
with these.
not when we're talking about something that's going to be proprietary, right? Because the 262 movement is
But
a
it
proprietary
doesn't
movement.
matter if it's
It does, but
proprietary or
it
not.
does matter. It does matter, and I
No,
can
it
say this.
doesn't.
I can say this with 100% accuracy when we start talking about Accutron. When we start
Are
talking about the
you
tuning
going
fork
to?
movements. Ah,
Yeah, but you don't send them back to Accutron to get repaired. You send them to an independent repairer.
correct. So that means that independent repairers are going to be able to have to fix this kind of
And they will.
unrepairable quartz module because that's really what they are. When you send this back for service, they are not servicing the movement, they're swapping the movements. And that's what they ended up doing with Accutron, right? They swapped out the tuning
Here's
fork movement, they threw in a quartz movement, and that was the nature of it.
here's here's what I'm going to do. Okay, let's break this down a little bit. Certain quartz movements, the ones that are meant to be throwaway movements, yes, They are not servicing those. They're throwaway. They're replacing the movement with whatever the equivalent at the time is going to be. The more higher caliber quartz movements are meant to be serviceable. And I'm going to do this. I'm going to find a watch that's a quartz movement that just doesn't work anymore. I'm going to send it to you. I want you to take it apart because I think your argument comes from not knowing what's inside of a quartz movement. When you open these up, they're fantastically serviceable.
Some
They're
of them,
they're they're
some of them are.
100% serviceable.
My
Some, I'm
issue.
not saying all of them,
Well, okay, but
but what
if we're
I'm
talking,
saying is the precisionist movements, absolutely you will be able to service those in the future. And they don't have to go back to the factory. They can go to whoever that independent shop is going to be, and they will be able to get it done.
I challenge that. I challenge that. We will revisit this in 25 years.
When we are old and grayer than what we are now,
Correct.
we'll
And
have
it's
this
going to sound
conversation again.
huh? What?
Yeah,
What?
exactly.
Turn it, what? Huh? Exactly what it's going to be. It's going
But
to be fantastic.
back to what you're saying though, should it be mechanical? Should it be quartz? The funny thing with Bulova is they market themselves as the accessible luxury brand. So I understand why they put a quartz movement in their reissues because they're trying to keep within a certain price point. And the lunar pilot was such a topic of controversy when they did
Yeah.
the 43 millimeter size.
The,
It
the
was, well,
43
how
or the
come they didn't do a
45?
mechanical version? Huh?
Well, for the first issue was the 45. Are you talking about that? Or are you talking about the no date?
No, I'm talking when they came out with the correct size, the
Okay.
43.5.
Okay. Thank you.
When they did that, everybody was up in arms. Well, they should have done a mechanical version. Why did they do
Right.
mechanical version?
Yeah.
Because it would have cost you $5,000 and you wouldn't have paid that for a bull of a watch.
Well,
If we're
okay,
being honest, it would have been
even
fantastic.
that point becomes a fantastic one because the original Accutrons cost more than Rolex. They were some of the most expensive watches on the market at the time.
But see, Accutron is the superior, right?
I know I'm not
The step
disagreeing, but
up from Bulova, but they're selling the new what are they? The
electrostatics.
electrostatic watches for $4,000, and people will buy that because that's what you expect from an Accutron. But when it comes to a Bulova, people are not looking to spend that much money on a Bulova, and that's the problem with the Lunar Pilot. If they made a mechanical, they wouldn't have sold them. They would have, but the people who are screaming for a mechanical watch would also be screaming that it costs so much.
It would have ended up being probably a limited edition, and if we look at the chronographs that they were producing that were comparable, those were all 1,000 plus, some of them almost up to $1,400, like the
Yeah,
Joseph Bulova LE chronographs, which are fantastic watches, but they're big too. They're like 42, no bezel,
yeah.
so they wear huge, and that would have put it in. I mean that could have worked. That could have worked, but I get it. I get it. I think that in order for them to pull that off as a mechanical, they will have to develop a movement.
So, okay, the guy that I work with, right? We've had conversations about him before. He noticed that there was it a post that they did that said something about they kind of teasing a new lunar pilot, whether it's a colorway, whether it's something else, whatever it was. I don't know. Somehow he came across there being a tease of a new lunar pilot coming. Do you think, do you think for the 150th anniversary, they did a limited edition mechanical version of it, Joe? This would be the time for them to do that.
It would be, but I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how that fits in with any kind of marketing strategy, anything that they're going for. I don't know. I don't know. I can't
I don't
answer
know.
that because like what would you price that at? Where would that how much would you charge for that?
$5,000. That would be
Probably,
$5,000 all day.
probably for
Yeah,
and
probably
it would
even
have to be
more
a
because they're
limited and
charging
they would
three
probably
for the
lose money
pocket
on it.
watch. I don't know if they'd lose money on it.
I don't know. I don't know that people are going to pay
I
five
don't know
grand
if they'd
for a
lose money on
Bulova.
it. Well, and there's my point.
Yeah. No, I don't disagree with that point.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with that point. I think though that when we're talking about the way that the technology moves and what people are willing to pay for, what it was versus what it is something else entirely, right? So Like, do you want to talk about packaging? Do you think packaging matters when it comes to this sort of thing?
No, I think packaging is a secondary thought. When
Like, well, you and I have we have
when
the
they
box and papers as an insult, because
yeah, pretty much.
box and papers you can add $1,000 to the price of a
The
$300 watch.
packaging can add the little twist to it. When you get a watch, and if you're spending money on a watch, and if it's, supposed to be special in some sort of way, if it comes packaged well, that's like oh, look it, they went above and beyond. Now, an example of this, and it's not a reissue, but when they did the ceramic snorkels, those came in like the faux wood grain cardboard,
Yeah,
make it look like kind of the original boxes, and that was cool. That was putting some thought
yeah.
into the packaging.
Some of the
The
some of the
the
higher end
new
stuff is coming in the wooden box versus that cardboard box.
the Marine Star came in a nice wood box. It has the
Yeah,
little booklet, the history booklet in it, and that's cool because if you're paying, $1,000 for a Marine Star, you're looking for that little extra touch. But does that make or break it? I don't think so. I really don't see that.
yeah. The box and papers argument when it comes to reissues, like, okay, if you're adding the history, but for most people, they're gonna know. I don't know that many people are going to be looking. If we take that Marine Star for instance, I don't think many people are going to be looking at it going, "Wow, what an amazing watch." I think a lot of people are going to be looking at it like, "Wow, that's a reissue." So,
Yeah.
does that history make a difference? It probably not. People should already know, but I don't know. I don't
But
know because you and I are in a
here's
different spot for that collector space.
here's the real question. And be honest with yourselves, listening or watching at home. How many of those boxes do you really hang on to? I mean, how many of them do you really are they that important that you really do you of all the watches that you own, do you have the associated box to go with it? I'm willing to bet you probably don't. Now,
What do you think the
a
percentage
box
is?
like a quarter, a
So, like,
quarter of the people keep the boxes.
for the stuff that I have that's new, I've held on to the boxes. For the vintage stuff that I've got, if it didn't come with a box, I don't have it. I'm not searching it out. Which is something Carl called
But
you out
see,
on because you don't have the Jetstar packaging.
well, no. There was no Jetstar packaging. There's displays. There's Jetstar displays, but not an actual specific Jetstar box. However, I would like to get the what is it? The Miss. Which one is it? The Miss Liberty, Miss America. What's the one that we have? What's the one that I have?
You have the Miss America. I have the
The
Miss
Miss
Liberty.
America. You have the Liberty. I would like to get the Miss America box. I think that would be kind of cool.
It's nice.
Um, the one box that I think just completely blows the rest of them away is that surfboard limited edition. That
That was a good box.
went a but you
It
paid
was a
what, $1,100 for
shoebox
that
though, dude.
watch?
It was huge.
That half the cost went into that box alone.
Easily, easily. That box was just massive. So I
But you
traded that
notice
one.
that that was the only one they did that to?
Yes.
They're like, yeah, no, we're not doing this again.
No way. No way close. Well,
Yeah.
except maybe for the limited, maybe for the mill ships that came in that diving helm.
Oh, they did the diving helmet. That's right.
Yeah, which I'd love to put
Yeah,
in
that
this
was
thing.
kind of cool too.
Well, yeah, but
I will say the Citizen. We're getting off topic here, but the Citizen, the Pro Master, they come in that little scuba tank. That's pretty
yeah,
cool.
it's pretty. Yeah, and then what the F1s came in that helmet, that race car helmet.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
if the new ones,
and
if
those I understand you hanging on to. That makes sense.
right, but even talking about that, like the Viceroy Octavia, that didn't come in packaging that was designated special at all. It was like a cardboard box, and I don't like trying to find somebody who has that. Those
Yeah,
are massively, massively rare. So
yeah.
just because it was disposable, like original Rolex packaging, a lot of people don't hang on to that. Vintage Vacheron packaging, like who's got a box from Vacheron from the 1920s?
Well, and it's going to be the same thing with who's going to have a box for the modern Marine Star.
Yeah,
Is it even going to make a difference? Is that watch 20 or 30 years from now, is it going to
Right.
make a difference if you have that wooden box? I'm going to bet it's not. Because
Yeah.
if we're being honest, as fantastic of a watch as it is, it retails for $995. In 6 months, you're going to be able to get it for $400. What's it going to be worth in 20 or 30 years? And the box is not going to help that value.
Yeah.
It really isn't.
Yeah.
Not.
It's not special. It's not cork plated. It's not gold. It's not whatever. So I mean, I get it.
Yeah.
All right. What did you want to talk about? You got a couple there that you've got.
Well, we talked about that Breitling top time.
Uh-huh.
We're kind of running out of time a little bit here, but I wanted to bring up the and I had it already set, so could have just gone right into it. I want to talk the Gerard Perregaux Bamford, the deep diver that they just came out with. This is
I know you
fantastic.
love
I
this.
love this.
I hate it.
Oh
I don't
my
like it at all.
gosh.
I don't like
But
it.
look at the hands it's got on there. Those are Oceanographer V hands.
I know
How can you not like that?
it's my handset and it's a little bit of an orange dial. It doesn't work for me. The blue and the orange doesn't quite happen. I don't like the strap. It
Now,
doesn't tick the boxes that it's so aptly shaped like.
I don't know. This is not a reissue, right?
Right.
Because it doesn't look like the original, but it is very much derived from it. It
Yes.
looks fantastic.
Like when you
What's
compare to
weird
me,
is
when you compare this to the original, I prefer the original every day. I like the original a lot more. I
I'll go with
understand what they're
either
doing. I
one.
understand why. I get it. It's just not for me.
I'll go with either one. Now, here's the funny part. It's a deep dive watch, right?
No,
Gerard Perregaux deep dive. Their marketing campaign has been the pool ready watch. That's not very deep dive.
no, no. Did you? Okay, I sent it out. Did you see the Longines double crown? Longines is just, and it's a white dial. It's a white dial, white handset in like 38. And to me,
Did I
like
see that? I don't know if I
I,
did.
I put it into the chat. Oh, must have been maybe this morning, maybe last
What
night.
are you talking like one of the Longines Legends? Like the
Yeah,
super compressor style
yeah. It like put it
in a
third.
white dial? I didn't see that part.
Oh man, that I like that. That works for me. That works way better than this one does.
Well, those are nice. I don't know. I just come on. For me, that
Oh no, no. For you, yeah, I get it. I get it. You would wear the
yeah.
crap out of that.
I don't know what that cost, but
Uh,
I pay it.
oh, maybe it's a
Yeah,
lot. I'll grant you that.
and they're super limited too. There's
Oh,
really not many being
I'm
made of those.
sure. I'm sure they are.
Yeah,
Yeah, I couldn't even imagine. Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
So
what are you gonna do?
not buy one,
Yeah, pretty much, or wait. See if
or yeah.
see if Pagani Design does one.
Yeah, no, I won't wear that one.
Oh, you
Uh,
totally would. Get it in
no,
pink. Oh, dude, you'd rock the crap out of that.
you and Pink. Last call, Joe. What do you got?
I got nothing, man. I got
You
nothing.
got nothing?
Nah.
So you want to know what I did a thing today?
What'd you do?
I went and played airsoft. It's
Okay.
like it's like
That
LARPing for
explains
cool
it. I
kids.
get it now. I get it now because you showed a picture, and I was
What?
wondering if you were joining a militia. I couldn't tell. Okay.
Oh, yeah, well, I did. I sent the picture with no context. It was just me. I look like a civilian contractor, for like some sort of military post of some sort.
You look like you were getting ready to storm the Capitol.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I don't know if I can go that far. But anyways, I did it. My
Anyways,
brother's real big into that stuff. And it was actually kind of fun. It was fun. But I will tell you, there were probably, let's just say 20 guys that were out there on the field today. 18 of them were all under the age of 25.
sure.
My brother and I were the only two old guys that were out there. He's been doing this for a little bit. This is my first time ever doing this. I thought I was going to friggin' die.
I can see that. I can see that.
The huffing and puffing. I am so sore right now. Tomorrow is going to be a bitch.
Well, good thing you got that plane ride home.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's going to suck too because I got to get up early tomorrow and do all that and head home. But we will find out who that watch was delivered to.
Yeah, it'll be exciting.
Hopefully, my hope is that when the postal the postal carrier.
There you go.
I've already finished this. That's why. When he checks the box of delivery, he maybe just hit the wrong box, is my hope, because, again, nobody was home to receive that package. So,
All right.
on that note, Joe,
How do we get in touch, Mike?
well, today, you, I, and my family, who's out here in front of me, we all make up Spring Bar Podcast. You can find us on Instagram at the Spring Bar Podcast. You can email us, thespringbarpodcast@gmail.com, even though nobody does.
That's true.
I am 120 clicks, all spelled out, one long word, 120 clicks. Joe.
I'm Watch Taylor Youth, all one word, EUPH.
Listen, one last thing. If you haven't already, go back and listen to the conversations with Carl. It's a two-part episode. The first one was, an hour and a half. The second one was a little less than that. They are jam-packed with really cool stuff. The second episode with just you and him was like story time with Carl.
It was cool.
That was awesome.
It was really cool. That was a fantastic conversation.
That was really cool.
It doesn't even touch on the conversation that he and I had before the video shot, which was almost identical. And we covered some of the same topics, but he was like, well, should I talk about this or should I talk about this? Well, what about this? How about I tell you this story? I'm like, whoa, save it. Save it all. Don't tell me now. Tell me.
That's the thing, is we could have him back so many times and go down so many rabbit holes, and he's got all the information. It's fantastic.
That's so, and we didn't even touch on half of the things that I know that we wanted to. So that means there's gonna be a part 3.
No, not at all.
There we go, part 3.
There's gonna have to be. They're gonna have to be.
Man, that'd be fun.
Yep. But until then, until we have Carl back on in another, I don't know, another something. I've got cool socks. Until then, cheers.
Cheers.